Good evening. This is Thomas Keegan calling. I'm doing this interview here today. I'm calling Heath, actually. Heath Beasley, who I have on the line here. Tonight, actually, it's a little past midnight my time. It's now June 30th, technically, if you want to be technical. But it's 2012. And so, the purpose of libertarianprogressive.com is to interview, in this 2012 election cycle, independent and third-party candidates. And today we have someone running for the U.S. Senate in Hawaii as an independent. He will be on the ballots. Again, his name's Heath Beasley. And he's from Texas, but he's made his home in Hawaii, and will be real interested to hear his issues. He's the only person that's not a Democrat or a Republican on the ballots, and so kind of going beyond, kind of thinking a little bit out of the box. That can be a little bit dangerous, but it can be a very good thing as well. And so, Heath, it's great to talk to you this evening, and thank you for taking the time, and not just for this interview, but to put yourself into the election cycle and to give people more of a choice. And basically, that's the main reason for this. Without knowing all your options, unless if you know all your options, you can't really make a fully informed choice. And Heath, good evening, and thanks for being here tonight, sir.
Well, thank you, and you're very welcome, and thanks for having me.
Well, so what got you motivated to do this? What drives you to, just not be a bystander, not be someone doting and or just forgetting all about politics, instead, wanting to be elected as a public servant and represent your great state of Hawaii, sir?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's something to be a bystander and see something coming and then do absolutely nothing. And the reason why I'm running in this race is because our problems is in the Senate. It's in our Congress. Right now, we have a stalemate in the Senate House. And we need a person that's not going to go along with the crowd. And I mean that by saying this, is we have Republicans and we have Democrats. Their agenda is right now is being put before the nation's needs. And one of the main things that I see is how that, many of the problems that we face comes to foreign policy, where it comes to the budget, or whether it comes just to, trying to make a deal with the healthcare system. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we have to do what's right for the country. And our country's not that old. We've seen countries throughout history. I'm a diplomacy and military studies student.
You're in the Navy for, was it 11 years, sir? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Served in the United States Navy for 11 years and got out and went into the Department of Education. But history is the underlining factor here. Is that we can look throughout history and we can see how nations have come and we can see how nations have gone. It's just the same life cycle of a human being, but on a grander scale. And so we can't get to the point where we say that we're invincible, we will never fade away. But just as a flower comes, it blooms, and it has its, its glory. It also soon has its death too as well. And same thing with the nation. But what happens too as well is, you can also compare it to a tree.
Absolutely.
We have to take the necessary steps to prevent this country from declining. And if we put greed, if we put anything before the very good of our country, we won't have anything. Just like Rome fell, and I know a lot of people use Rome as a example. You also have the Ottoman Empire. You have so many different examples of countries falling, and we're going down that same path. Corruption, and we have the.
It's about being self-aware in a sense, also maybe, and learning from the past and not ignoring it.
Well, you know what? That's where you get wisdom. Wisdom is the application of being able to use the history and then being able to apply it to the present.
I mean, Einstein wouldn't have figured out all the stuff he did. Maybe he would have, but without the other work from people before him. So, so science doesn't always ignore the past, but somehow politics sometimes seem to more easily, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
or it seems like it is sometimes.
Exactly. Well, that's how it is with technology. We started out with the brick phones, right?
Yeah.
You remember the big old, cellular phones in the car? You could only, you had to plug it in. Well, now we have it to the point where you can watch Netflix on your phone in the mall, So what it is that they're building on top of that, the past experiences. And the same thing has to go with the governments, too, as well. The government should build on, okay, what has worked in the past and what did not work in the past. But then you have that human element, though, you know what I'm saying? At the still same time, that human element is able to rejuvenate something that's dead, too, as well. We have seen countries like France had a rejuvenation. We've seen England was in a decline, but then they had a rejuvenation. That rejuvenation comes from the people. And so...
well, what would you see as, because right now it's 2012, we do have, I guess you could say, and I'm not trying to make it sound like some kind of movie, but we have gridlock in Washington, and so, it's where our budget is bad, our foreign policy, the polls are pretty much... people feel pretty upset with the way things are going right now, and we're not sure, what's the way out? What's the way of the future?
Let me tell you this, Thomas. In any country or in any house.
Can we prevent this? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You have to have people that are optimistic, and you also have to have people that are pessimistic. Those two types of people, they work hand in hand. But right now, we need people that are optimistic, right? And what Albert Einstein, since you're using Albert Einstein, we'll just go ahead and use him. He said what's insane is expecting a different outcome, but not, changing the process along the way. And so the process starts out at the polls. For years, we have been voting for people that have been in politics for years, and we can see where that's gotten us. Here in Hawaii, we can see where that has gotten our state.
Well, voting is important because, not to sound simple here, but that's where the laws are passed, right? So that's where we need to make a difference or try something different, as you said.
Well, that's where it is. And so with technology now, we're in a information age where information is readily available to people. If they reach out, if voters reach out, they'll be able to see who is running in this election, and then also look at and see where does this person stand on this given issue, and then we can make an informed decision that way. And then we also have people like you too as well, and the people you work with that are actually trying to inform voters. And this is actually good because what happens is, like I said before, it's the people that rejuvenate the country. And this is how the process starts. You have people like you, and then you also have people like me. I don't, I don't
Well,
have...
here's a big constituency is like the technology industry and like computer people. Like, how do you feel about like internet privacy? I mean, it's and I don't mean to interrupt, but that this is an opportunity to bring up a specific issue of internet privacy. Previously, they were trying to pass laws where, any corporation could say you're making a copyright violation without the due process to prove that they were. I mean, it could be a different argument whether you were or not, but this is like you're guilty until proven innocent.
Right. Well, again, we have to use what worked in the past as far as the laws that worked in the past and then apply them, because there's nothing new under the sun, right? What you have to do, you have to use what worked in the past and then apply it to technology. That's all you have to do. Whoever gets it to the patent office first.
You're so right on there, and I've thought this years ago, and I kind of lost this thought. It's basically it's the same principle. I mean, whether you're not allowed to search and see someone in their house, it shouldn't be any different for inside someone's computer. I mean, now it might be different if someone went on someone else's website voluntarily, but I mean that doesn't give someone a right without a some kind of probable cause and a judge's, independent judge's authorization to do that.
Right.
It's the same principle. I mean, they're saying they're trying to treat it like it's two separate things, but it's
not.
It's not. It's not. And it's, yeah, I'm glad you see that. I mean, I hope, and the debate about the, infrastructure being exposed, like utilities shouldn't be connected to the internet anyways. I mean, they don't have to be. They should be on their own networks.
Well, that goes to just common sense.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And now, what about to me, the biggest issue, and you might have other issues that you might want to talk about NASA or other things, but to me, the biggest fundamental issue, and I know some people pay a lot of attention to it, and we have some great organizations that try to protect civil liberties, but to me, what good is prosperity if it can be attained without civil liberties? And I think that there's an argument, but what about the last 10 years or so, or even beyond? I mean, I know that there's a lot of good things where you hear court cases where they strike down like bad rules and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's all bad, but I mean, how do you feel about? Do you have something to say that you would like to convey on our civil liberties?
Such as
all like the First Amendments, the Fourth Amendments, like the legal searches and seizures, knowing who that your accusers are, to know the evidence of that, to have a fair trial by your peers with a jury, and just everything to not.
Well, let me say this is that. With our civil liberties, George Washington said in his farewell speech to the nation that it's our duty as citizens to protect those civil liberties and not let the government take those civil liberties away, and at all costs protect those civil liberties. And so, with that being said, it's the Congress' responsibility to protect the people and to make sure, because what's happening now is that we have been, and like I said, this goes.
I mean, there's people on no-fly lists who have no recourse, and there's like little kids on stuff like that. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that's going on, So
yeah, well. The thing about it is that we have to elect people that are going to represent us. That's what it all boils down to. When we elect people to represent us, then we'll start seeing changes in Congress. We'll start seeing stuff that represent us instead of representing one big business, corporations, special interests. that it all starts. And then another thing is this: is who is going to run? Who's going to put their name on the ballot? You know, who of all of us voters? Because I'm a voter. All right. First and foremost, I'm a voter. I'm not a politician because I'm not in politics. If anything, you can call me a public servant. All right. My only desire is to serve the people of this country and to serve the people of Hawaii. That's it. And by doing so, I also serve the people that's in the other states too as well. And yes, you know, I want to bring home the bacon, you know, to my state. Who doesn't? I'm not going to even lie about that. But at the end of the day, the country is number one.
Yeah, and there's some other issues that go beyond, you know, project infrastructure and stuff like that, like civil liberties. Like, you know, that's kind of just, it's seen in action rather than being like something that's like a building or something like that. You know,
Right.
It's law.
Well,
and that's something where you would affect the whole, you know, help to influence the whole country.
Yeah. Well, you should have the right to bear arms. You should have the right to freedom of speech, and it's up to us to just protect that. Those are the things that we should have. You should have a right to free speech. You know, you should be able to say what you want to say, right? And you should be able to have whatever you want to have on your blog. Okay. Now, where we start getting into the nasty, you know, I guess poking it into people's business is once when you start infringing on somebody else's civil liberties or rights and stuff like that, then we have a qualm.
Well,
right?
that's why it's gotten out of control, because we have allowed that. You know, the whole thing was to. That's the thing. If we allow others, I mean, to have their rights not recognized, then, you know, we essentially allow it for ourselves. I mean, that's how they're able to pass all these kind of laws. I mean, some people don't even read the bills that go through, and others are intentionally like putting this stuff in there.
Yeah, because they throw a whole bunch of earmarks in there. You know, you have. Okay, so you have, say, a health care bill, right? What earmarks do we have inside of it? Nobody knows. How many earmarks do we have inside that health care? How many? Yes, you know, the bill is called this, but in order to get people to vote for it, you have to add some earmarks to it. That's why these bills get longer and thicker because people are adding their junk into it.
Yeah, that bill was one of the biggest bills in the world. I think that was a big bill for sure.
Yeah.
And the Congress was, geez, it took them a couple of months to work on that. And so, what do you think? What would your ideal healthcare legislation proposals be, sir?
Well, in my opinion, is that I think we should have universal health care. And I would use the military as a model. The same way the military provides health care for the soldiers is something that I would do. And I would go into more of a preventive medicine. Preventive medicine is a lot cheaper than, reactive. I don't know how they would say it, but,
Yeah, and that's probably best done in education, because, I mean, you really have to have someone want to do that. I mean, if someone really wants to have a pizza, they're going to have it,
Yeah, but let me finish here, too, as well. Yeah. All right. Now, universal health care, okay? Now, the same way we have public schools, you can have your kid go to a public school if you choose to, right? Of course you pay your taxes for them to go to. So
do you mean like Medicare for all, basically?
Yes.
I mean,
now let me finish. Yeah, let me finish though.
Okay.
Now,
I think that would have been better than what passed. I mean, to be honest, I mean, instead of
the thing about it
giving
is
it to
that
the corporations.
Well, the thing about it is that we have to work it. We have to work into it because how the old system that we had was not good for the citizens. Period. I mean, hands down, it's not good because what happens is that you have an annual an annual limit, and then you have a lifetime limit. So if you get into a major accident, right? 9 times out of 10, if it's a major accident, you're gonna have multiple surgeries. And then if you're in the hospital for, say, like, a few couple of weeks, believe me, you'll go well past the annual limit in probably 1 week, probably in less than 1 week. With one major surgery, you'll go past the annual limit.
I know it's enough to make that that's go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Now
and it doesn't matter how much and if you make some. Well,
I think a public option. I mean, do you think? And what do you think about a public option? That's way you have an option.
The thing about let me tell you this. Okay, so also as well with my idea is you'd also have a private sector too as well. So if you don't want to go with the healthcare that the government has, you can go with the private. Okay, and that's fine. Now, the hospitals would be ran by the government, okay? And we would make our own stuff.
You wouldn't have to pay for advertising or CEO executive pay.
Exactly.
And you could bargain for lower prices with all those customers.
All right, now let me also tell you this. Doctors pay up the nose for insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, up the nose.
They do. That's true. Yeah.
All right, so you can't, and with the government, you would not be able to sue, okay? You just would not be able to sue. We would not allow that.
Yeah.
So they'd be covered. But they would just be, they would be banned from practicing medicine in the United States if any malpractice was to be discovered. Now, an incentive for the doctors to buy into it is that we will pay off their education, and they have to, just like in the military, they would have to serve
a certain amount of time. Yeah.
For an amount of time. After you serve your time, then you can go into the private sector if you choose to. Or you can continue to... So it would kind of be like the military.
Yeah, that's not too bad. That's an interesting option. Yeah, I haven't heard that. And you know what else would people aren't considering is that I don't hear many people bring up is that a lot of businesses would save a lot of money, like just say, hey, why don't you, we don't offer health care, but you can choose a, public option or the Medicare for all. I mean, a lot of businesses would be able to compete and hire more people if they didn't have the health care.
Thomas, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Because it does not make sense. It never made, well, check this out. If you just forget everything that you know about the way things are run in this country, and let me tell you how things would be if I could, help. Businesses should not have to pay for a person's health care insurance.
Right.
Should not have to pay. It just does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Well, like, why associate those two things together? I mean, it shouldn't.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Because what happens is that the person that you work for should not have to be concerned about, paying for your health care. And so by doing so...
And vice versa. Like, you shouldn't have to depend on your employer for your health care either.
Exactly. You should have health care, period, right? Because you're a citizen. Now, in any societies back in, Rome, what was important? Health care and education. Education, we hold education to be so important that we have what? We have public schools.
But what about rights for people to have alternate health care, like for vitamins, access to that? They shouldn't need like prescriptions for stuff like that. I mean, should people be able to have full access to things like that?
No. All that stuff is through the government health care system. Now, you pay a percentage Matter of fact, no. You pay a flat fee of.
Well, it'd probably be progressive compared to how much someone made, right, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, so what happens is that there's a flat fee, flat percentage that you pay, and then it's based on how many people you have in your family and how much you make. Whether you fall below this line, that's how much you pay. And then if you make past a certain amount of money annually, then there is no deductions for you. And so, but businesses would not have to pay for your medical. And, stuff like sheets, bedding, smocks that doctors wear, paper towels, all that stuff would be produced by the government. The government would supply its hospitals, and also would sell to the private industries too as well.
And do you think we should have to, do you think it should cost, I don't know, I think it's like $1 million for a company to be able to introduce new prescription drugs? I mean, that seems like it's preventing, possible new breakthroughs from coming through. And
well, there's always incentive. You always got to put a carrot in front of people. That's just how it is. And so that's just what you do. You put a carrot in front of people. You always go to the schools. You always pull your knowledge from kids in high school. You pull your knowledge from kids in college. That's where you get breakthroughs. You don't get breakthroughs in these big corporations. Big corporations take from these colleges. They know what they're doing. They take from these colleges. So what the government would do is that the government would subsidize the colleges, universities, and they would do research at these universities, and the government would pull these kids. But it all starts.
And then they could, when they reach new discoveries, they could share it, have it be open source, in other words, and just let everyone take advantage of it too. Because if it's our tax dollars that's funding that R&D, we should be able to benefit from it too.
But at the same time, you also still have companies that are trying to make some money. You always have the factor of greed, always. And so you always have to change. You always have to be a step ahead of the companies that are trying to one up the people. You're always going to have that, and it's always going to be some sort of company or a person or a group of individuals that's always going to try to one up us.
Let me ask this. Is an issue I think is important. Do you think people should be able to know if they're buying a food that contains genetically modified ingredients? I'm not saying to ban genetically modified ingredients. I'm just saying, should I be able to have that disclosed to me? Do you think, or do you know about that issue? It might not be one that that you're championing.
That's not well. I wouldn't say. It's not one of my top things, but you should be able to, you should disclose what you have. But of course, that's just more information you got to put in your packet. So,
I mean, if a tomato has fish genes in it, and they patent it, and they give it a name that because they patented it, it can't really be called a tomato anymore. Either that or they wouldn't need to patent it. Plus, I don't know. I would, look into that, companies, there's documentaries on companies like Monsanto and stuff, and some smaller farms and stuff, not having an even playing field. And
well, let me tell you this, Thomas, I don't want to demean, any, efforts and people doing certain things. But you ever heard of the saying, there's the bigger fish to fry?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to prioritize certain things, and that's the problem with Congress right now. They're not prioritizing stuff, and getting the job done. And that's why people are so displeased with the Congress right now. We have to prioritize. The number one thing that is spinning out of control is the budget. So we have to get rid of duplications. And it's okay to have redundancies, for important functions within the government, but then there comes a point where you have too much redundancies, too much copies.
Do you think we should have a sunset law? So that way, like, after, 10 years, it needs to be voted on again, and then if not, then they'll be forced to either tweak it or just let it expire?
Well, this is the thing with sunset laws. If there's a sunset law, then she never really needed it then. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good point.
You pass laws so that to make things better. Right? You don't pass laws so that we can revisit this again, because then that's just kicking the can down to another Congress, and now they gotta all these jokers pass this junk down to us, and now we have more work because everything that they do.
I think ideally that's correct. I mean that would be correct. I mean it's pretty simple, and the government should be protecting freedom and liberty and instead of hindering it. I mean,
the thing is that Congress is not there just to be making laws, just to be making laws. You know what I'm saying? You should make the laws that need to be made. And because what happens is that we have to be proactive, and we have to be a step ahead of people that are just trying to take advantage of people. The Congress's responsibility is to protect and defend the people of this country from enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, we have foreign enemies and we have people that are domestic enemies. Domestic people are, one, they're taking your money, they're taking advantage of the poor, they're taking advantage of the sickly, and they're taking advantage of the elderly, and taking money from Social Security. Now, let me speak on Social Security for a second.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah. A lot of people would want to know what you think about that.
You've heard them say that, oh, you know what? We didn't expect these people to live this long. Now let me tell you this fallacy. This is a lie from the pits of hell. Those people paid into Social Security all those years, so that money accumulated all those years. You follow me? Now, all the people that was, say the baby boomers, right? They all didn't survive. Okay. Now, when you say we're gonna raise the age of retirement, all you're saying is this. This is the two messages that you send when you say you're gonna raise the age. You want us to work longer, and you want us to die sooner. Those are the two messages that you send when you want to raise the age of,
that's
retirement.
Definitely not a good message. I don't like that message. Yeah, that's. But I think you know what? I think you're right. Congress is constantly saying that to us. That's what they're saying. That's that they say that to us.
They were the ones that took the money out, though. And so if they wouldn't have been.
Social Security should have a surplus right now. If no one ever raided it or took funds out of it for other things, it would have a surplus right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's just. And you know what? It's the same principle as an insurance company. Let me ask you this question: what in the world does an insurance company have? What business do they have going out of business? How in the world can an insurance company go out of business? You ever ask yourself that question?
Well, the insurance companies. I mean. They're really huge companies. I know that, and I know AIG was a big company that got bailed out, and but I know there's smaller insurance companies like car insurance companies, but no, what have you thought about that? Sure.
An insurance company's whole business is for them to have money in case of a rainy day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a, and
So
just
obviously I mean, so they didn't do that, obviously.
because and you know why? Because of a lack of oversight. Now they want to look and spy on citizens, but you know what? They're not taking the time to look at these companies. Now, these companies are actually connected to the economy, and a country's economy is actually a national security risk. If your economy goes down, the banking system goes down, then your nation is threatened. And so,
Well, do you think our military spending has a lot to do with our budget problems?
oh my goodness, the military. You know, I used to be in the military, so believe me, I know the wastefulness of the military. We have over some 900 bases in over some 100 countries around the world. Some of those bases are like Japan, and some of the ones that are in the Middle East are actually contested bases. And when I say contested, meaning people don't want them there. And so we have closed down bases here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what we can do is close the bases because there's logistical supplies that have to go out to these bases around the world, right? So you have to have supply lines, constant supply lines. They have they constantly be resupplied, and so there's a whole lot of money that goes into it. I was deployed in the Middle East, and I had some 32 vehicles under my care. And these were rentals, and so it would have been better if we would have purchased the vehicles versus rent the vehicles. Renting those vehicles was just an astronomical price. But of course, yeah, we would have had to do the maintenance.
Yeah, we need to get that. That sounds like either just complete idiocy or it's just I don't know what that.
Well,
we got to stop that. I mean, how can we
well,
stop?
no, let me tell you the thinking behind that is that they want to be a positive. They want to be a positive charge to the local economy in those countries. That's why. And that's why they purchase stuff from local. Because if you don't supply it, then you have to buy stuff from the local area, and that's actually going to cost a lot of money too. So either way, I mean.
Do you think just taking a whole new approach to foreign policy, like, I mean, I know we need to defend ourselves and we got to have, like, the best military without a doubt than the next 25 countries, but we still could. But how about, do you think maybe we could talk to, Iran and some of these countries? I mean, they, maybe possibly try to influence them slowly over, like, a generation with trade and diplomacy and things like that, and not being afraid to have some yelling matches once in a while, but stickers.
Well, let me tell you this, Thomas. I'm a religious person. Okay, I believe in the Bible. It's no secret. That's not no secret. So everything is in the Bible. I 100 agree with it. So that area is always going to be a contested area. And it's been a contested area since David and Goliath. You know about David and Goliath, right?
Oh yeah, I know about David and Goliath, absolutely.
So it's always been that way. Iran wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map. That's no secret. What we have to do, I believe, from is that we have to contain it. Containing that little area. We have to have a strong military, without a doubt. But at the same time, we have to do it smartly. Now, the age in which we live in, right? Which is better, destroyer or missile?
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, a destroyer can launch missiles, right?
let me tell you this: if you can shoot a missile from from space, which one do you think is better, a destroyer or a missile?
Okay, I guess from space. I'll lean towards space. That's what my instinct tells me, anyways.
Yeah. So so then we have to progress to use technology to our benefit and be a little bit wiser in how we strengthen our.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I mean, and that's very, can be cost effective and stuff like that too. I think that it's possible, though. I mean, it doesn't. Yes, I mean, you can look at prophecy and stuff, but at the same time, we can, still be somewhat of a good Samaritan and try to negotiate. I mean, Iran.
By all means.
Had a democracy in the 50s, and they were actually, toppled by our CIA.
Well,
I think. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it, and that's the kind of junk we have to stop doing, because if you fight fire with fire, you're bound to get burned. You live by a sword, you die by a sword. There's so many sayings that strike that down, that kind of thinking, that mentality. That's the kind of mentality that's got us into the trouble that we're in. All the time, we've given weapons to Iraq to fight against Iran. We end up fighting against our own weapons. We gave weapons to Afghanistan to fight Russia. We end up fighting against our own weapons again. We went down to Panama. CIA wanted to put one person down and put another person in charge. We didn't like Noriega, so we went down there and the list goes on and on. CIA doing this, CIA doing that. It's just like what Washington said. I mean, you have to have good values. I mean, if you don't, then that
gives us a moral high ground too, right? I mean,
well, it's not just the moral high; it's just doing what's right. I mean,
and plus, it could probably help. Like doing what's right can help actually maybe create a better world as well.
Well, yeah, because you know what, the saying is true. You reap what you sow. And so if you planting apple trees, guess what you're gonna get?
Yeah, and another one is the golden rule. I mean, just
do unto others as you have done to you. Yeah. But like I said again, that goes back to who are you gonna put in office? All right. So then, when you decide who you're gonna put in office, okay, then what do they believe? What's their belief system? What's their foundation?
Well, it's that Einstein thing again. I mean, if we elect more Republicans and Democrats again and expect different results, I mean, we need to, maybe this year we might only get 10 independents or enough where there's a significant amount, at least in the double digits is what, is possible. And Hawaii, that's, a place where you probably can, get the word out. I guess. I mean, there should be press releases, town halls, and people need to, contact you, and then people from all across the country can donate to you, though, too. I mean, because this is, as a U.S. Senator, you'd be 1 out of 100 there representing us.
Yeah, and see, but the thing about it is it's a hard thing because this is actually my first time ever doing anything like this. But if I don't do it, then I'm going to be like, oh, man, I knew I should have done it.
But you're the type of person that should be in there. I mean, someone that's not your typical politician, and that it's like for the things that you're saying are things that you wouldn't hear like a Democrat or a Republican say. It's more genuine. It's more leveled. You want to fix the budgets. You respect the Second Amendment. I mean, so it's kind of across the board, and that's really what I think America is, and it's these Republicans and Democrats. I mean, even a message has got to be sent, because if you know what they'll say? They'll just say, yeah, we just didn't explain ourselves right. That's why there's a low turnout. They wouldn't care if there's a low turnout. The only way they're ever going to listen is by, having a wave of independents, third parties, people that are different.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that there's a whole lot of people around the country that feel the same way I feel too as well.
And something just new and inspiring. I mean, it doesn't.
The thing about it is that
way.
they have. Let me tell you what's going on right now. There's some people in the Democratic Party, and there's some people in the Republican Party that's trying to get away from the Republican Party, trying to get away from the Democratic Party, but they just don't have the courage to do so. They're stuck in their party, and they're blacklisted. And so a person that sees, that's coming in as an independent, or people that want to make a change, they have to come in as independent because the Democrats have an agenda, and so does the Republicans. And if you don't get with the program, if you don't get with the rest of them, then you're not being loyal. And it doesn't make sense for anybody that wants to make a change to jump on the bandwagon with both of these parties. It just doesn't make sense. If you want to make a change, and I'm going to tell you this.
You need to be in the debates, too. You should challenge those people and say
they don't want me. Well, the primary is this, is that the Democrats are fighting against the Democrats. And they're at each other's throats. They're at each other's jugulars. And then the Republican for Hawaii is the ex-governor. So they feel that she's got that one in the bag. And so everybody else is of no significance.
I mean, you are on the ballot, right? I mean, so
yes,
I think that should be the threshold. If you get on the ballot, you should be able to, I mean, depending on the states might have different things about how to get on the ballot and stuff, but you should be in the debates, absolutely.
I have to get 10% of the total vote for the primary in order to get to the general election.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 10%.
10%. Now,
when is the primary? When is the primaries?
August 11th.
August 11th.
Now, what's gonna help me is getting campaign donations so that I can appear on TV, make commercials, go to the outer islands or the neighboring islands to meet people and to let people know that I'm in this race. And at the same time, I just need, I need a ram in the bush.
It's Beasley for Hawaii.com, Beasley for Hawaii.com. And,
that's correct. And
yeah.
The whole purpose of me running is all in the name of the website, Beasley for Hawaii.
And
it's
do you
have,
yes. And there you go, donations and also, putting up signs, and if
I only have one banner and 2 signs.
Or how about this? If people have like a platform where they could have a town hall, or if you have a group that would want to ask, questions and answers and things like that as well. I mean, and that could make the press. And the press has to do press releases on stuff like this.
You know what? I did a press release for when I announced my candidacy. I sent a press release out to all the news agencies. Guess how many showed up? 1. And guess what? I talked to one news agency and let them know that I was running the same day, and they didn't show up for it.
That's why the media has a very low approval rating too. The latest Gallup poll, Congress has dipped into single digits, and the media is right there, hand in hand.
Yeah. So, but let me tell you this though, they've approached me to do advertisement on their channels though.
And what about radio? Called up radio places?
Same thing, advertisement. They all, get in touch with me because they want to sell me some space on their radio station.
Cool. And now, so they wanted you to, so they approached you to advertise on there. Wow, that's kind of, yeah. Well, you know what? The media is hopefully, if they keep this course up, they're not informing the public or giving people all their options either, so they can make a fully informed decision. And they're the dinosaurs. We have dinosaur representatives and dinosaur people running a lot of the media right now, unfortunately. But we have the internet, like you were saying, and we have people that have a sense of, like, things can be better. Like, I am sick of, this Republican, Democrats, all these. Like they're blaming what happened on capitalism. It's not capitalism, and they're calling what the healthcare law that passed socialism, and that's not socialism. I mean, so they're wrong on both accounts there. It's more like fascism, where you mix governments with corporations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, I think people have a choice, and here's your choice. One choice here, Heath Beasley, U.S. Senate, 2012. Now, before I have about 2 more questions here, sir. I just want to know if what is. Do you have any favorite past politicians or
Senator Robert Byrd. Yes, Senator Robert Byrd.
Any reason why?
I like this. I forgot what the book was called, but it was about the Roman Senate, how they gave their power over to the dictator, and the slow decline of the Senate, and how that how it translates to the United States Congress as well.
It's almost like studying sociology in a way,
So he made the comparison between the two, basically.
Yeah, and so you're fighting to prevent that.
Well, the thing about it is that the most important thing is the country, and the ability for the country to protect not only itself but also its people. The government was instituted to protect the people. That's the sole job of the government, is to protect the citizens of this country. And taxes was created to generate revenue, to raise a military, and to operate the government affairs. But we have a tax code that's...
Yeah, what about the tax code? I remember you did mention that. What do you think should be done? It says on here you want to do something totally different.
So what are you reading? Where are you reading from?
I think, wasn't that on the platform
here?
What? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you did
replace the tax code. Replace the tax code.
So basically, you have to remember, with me, like I told you, I'm religious, okay? And everybody has some sort of belief, whether you don't believe in God or whether you believe in this religion or that religion. I want everybody to be free to serve, to have their religion, to have freedom of religion. Because if there was not freedom, I'm sorry I'm digressing, but I will get back to the subject of tax. If we didn't have religion, then I wouldn't be free to serve my God. You follow me on that?
Well, I think that's great, as long as everyone respects everyone else's right to
That's exactly what has to happen. You have to respect my position on certain things, and I can respect your position on other things. And at the end of the day, we're all Americans. At the end of the day, when the sun goes down, we're all Americans. You go home and I go home, we're all Americans.
Yeah, I agree.
But with regards to the tax, now the tax code, have you ever heard the saying, don't put new wine into old bottles.
Yes, I have heard that saying.
Or else they'll burst, right?
Right,
So,
right, yeah.
now the same principles that that govern that, just wisdom. I mean, just those are words of wisdom, okay? And those are words of wisdom that we can apply to our lives. Now, how this translates to the tax code is this: is that we have a tax code that we all know is not good. It's filled with erroneous subsidies and filled with loopholes. I like to talk about my hose that I have in my backyard. I live in a place called Ever Beach, and it's really hot there. And so I have this hose that I've had since I've been living in the house. It's old, and it's like when a hose gets like really brittle, it starts to get holes in it.
Yep.
Does it make sense for me to put duct tape every time I get holes on the some holes in the hose?
Not for too long, yeah.
Yeah, it makes more sense just to get a new hose, right?
Absolutely.
Now, with all the years that have gone by, all the several decades that have passed, and they've had committee after committee, subcommittee after subcommittee, and they've had these different firms come in and try to tell them what they should do and how they can pass new laws. All this time that they have spent trying to fill these holes, fill these gaps, trying to counteract old laws, they could have just made a new one. All the effort, all the hours, all the money spent on these consulting firms, right?
Yeah, time and energy equals money, and
yeah,
absolutely.
and matter of fact, they just finished I love how they use these words, bipartisan and partisan, and they just had a bipartisan committee. Just said hey, this is our findings on the tax code and blah blah blah. This consulting firm said this to us. This is how we can remedy. Well, they just told us everything that we already knew already, and then we just paid these people I don't know how many billions or
That's
dollars.
how I felt when I heard that. Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, exactly.
So you heard that then, right?
I thought something very similar. I remember then.
Yeah, that was just in the past week or so. I watch C-SPAN. Okay, that's my
Yeah,
that's my bread.
a good place.
Because you can't get information like that watching Fox or CNN or headline.
No, not at all.
I don't even know what they're doing with the headline. They got some pretty woman on there, and she's just giving you her opinions and not really giving you the news. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. No, you get a whole different perspectives from C-SPAN. I mean, they have interviews with authors. They have interviews with ex-Congress people in the beginning of the day before they air the Congress, which that's our eyes on the Congress. You get to hear from the people. They go over news articles that are in the newspapers, which so you're basically reading the newspaper and listening to the rest of America. And then so they start with the people, then go to the people's house, then the Senate and et cetera, and the judicial, and they follow, and sometimes they have little specials and stuff. Yeah.
And then if you want to hear what's going on in the White House, all you got to do is just go to YouTube and go to whitehouse.gov, right?
Right.
And if you go to the news channels, you'll get their spin on stuff. You know what I'm saying? You get to hear from the horse's mouth. No, it's not edited. You just get to hear, what they're saying, and
there's no opinions on C-SPAN too. Like the moderators are just objective, and they just take the calls, all different kinds of calls, and they don't really care what the people are. I mean, they care, but you know what I mean. It's just refreshing. It's not like this partisanship, this overheated partisanship and stuff, and
But getting back to the tax code.
Yeah, the tax code.
This is how, and it's about with me. I'm not really a writer. I'm not a good writer. That's one of my downfalls. And I'm trying to get better at it. So everything that you see on my campaign, everything that you see on the website, everything. I mean, to how the website's designed, to the eagle that you see. to the shield.
Yeah.
To
Now, I was going to ask you about that shield. I mean, do you want to explain it? Yeah.
I made all that stuff.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Shield is just the Hawaiian flag. You know how the American flag on the eagle. If you look at the say like the emblem for the U.S. Senate, right, with the eagle, and they have the shield, and they have the arrows and the all.
Yes, I do know that symbol. Yeah.
I just put a little twist to it with Hawaiian twist.
Nice.
I put the War Club. Now I drew that. So everything that you see from my campaign, posters, anything, I took the time. I did that stuff. That's coming from me.
Great.
So anything that you see from me is from me. Anything that's written, anything that I say.
Yeah, you're not having advisors telling you what to say.
No. I don't have a campaign manager.
Well,
Okay,
that's refreshing. That's now the tax code. We got to hear about this.
All right. So the tax code is a flat tax. Well, I don't want you to think flat tax as you've heard it in the past.
Okay.
So whenever you hear me say something, just wipe your mind clean of everything that you've ever known.
All right.
So what happens is this. All right. So let's just use 10% because 10% is easy. Okay.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's going to be 10%. So any numbers is just variables. Can be changed.
Right. 10's a good one to use for example.
So
yeah.
So 10% go straight across. Now this is where you get your deductions. All right. If you have family, right, and you have dependents, then that's where your deductions come from, right? You follow me on that so far?
Yep.
All right. Also, if your family has special needs, whether you have a special needs, dependent, or if you have elderly, dependents that you're taking care of, you get your deductions based on that.
Things to help families, basically.
Yeah, that's what it's mainly about. Now, my tax code does not, apply to, you just bought a new house. There is no deduction for that. Okay, it's a tax. Okay, we're forgetting that a tax is a tax. Okay, and those are some of the things I just, charity. You give. You want to get to your,
No, I can respect that. Yeah, charity should be from the heart and not because you're getting a deduction on your taxes. But now, absolutely. Well, what do you think about this? Because this is something I've thought about. What about the fair tax, where it's just a sales tax, and then people that make under a certain amount, they do get a voucher? I mean, do you think that might be possible too?
No. Now, let me tell you. Let me finish this.
Okay.
All right. Anything that you add to yourself, anything you add to your network within a year's time, anything that you add to your network is taxed. So if you added something to your network during the year and that you pulled out of stocks, you pulled out of bonds, you pulled something out and you added it to your network, then that's tax.
So food, that wouldn't count as just anything you add to your net worth. If you bought a car, would that count as that, or?
No. When you buy a car, you buy a car with your money.
Okay.
I'm talking about money. When you add to your network. So if you have some stocks, right? Mm-hmm. And your stocks are gaining, and then you don't get taxed on it, right? And then finally you decide to go ahead and pull your stocks out, right?
Okay.
And buy something else, then you have added to your network. Once when you have a transaction, you buy something with that money, then you just add it to your network. Now, if you pull that money, when you pull that money out, right, you've just added to your network. You have your money in the stocks, and you just pull that money out. You've added, you've gained money, right?
Right.
Pull that money out. You've added to your network. Now, say if you put $50,000 in the stocks, right? Now, we're not going to tax you on the $50,000 that you put in the stock. We're going to tax you on the added money that from the $50,000. You get me on that?
Well, I do want to clarify that. So, going with the 50,000 example, what if you lost, let's say, 10,000 and you're left with 40,000?
Well, you're not taxed.
Okay.
Because that money's already been taxed. You follow me?
It's already been taxed because you lost that money. In other words, is that
well,
what you're saying?
50,000. You put 50,000 in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you lost 10,000.
Right.
You pull your 40,000 out, then you just pull your 40,000 out.
Okay.
That money's already been taxed. You follow me?
Okay, it's been taxed by somebody else who made those gains, probably.
No. Okay, so check this out. Okay, if you put 50,000 in, right, into some stock, right, and the stocks go down, and your stocks go down, you lose 10,000. You pull your money out. You're not taxed on that money because you've already been taxed on that money already.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right, yes, that makes sense. Yes.
Now, if you put 50,000 in, right, and you pull your money out and you pull out 60,000, then 10,000 is going to be taxed.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay.
You follow me on that now?
Totally. 100%. I'm glad to clarify that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So whatever you gain is taxed.
Yeah,
whatever you gain.
That sounds fair. Okay. Yeah, so that would be the capital gains tax, but it seems a little more fair, actually. Yeah, that seems okay.
And so there's a threshold too as well. Now, past a certain threshold, there's no deduction. So you're making 500,000 a year, right? Then there's no deductions for you.
Right. So okay.
You just pay your percentage, and then there is also a poverty line. Now, in any civilization, right? This is important when you're talking about taxes. You're talking about anything. You're talking about anything dealing with money. It is civilization. The society. It's a society, a civilized society. It's civilized society's responsibility to take care of the poor, the sickly, and the elderly. Anybody else that tell you anything otherwise is not civilized. Okay, that's our responsibility. When people say, "Oh, forget the poor," then you know that person is not the kind of person you want running, or you want representing anybody.
Yeah, I think people, that should be what people's motivations are. I mean, in having wanting that end result, at least in a civilized society, totally. I mean, I wouldn't want to live someplace where, just there's people just put somewhere because, no one cares about them anymore and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, with also a tax, too, as well, is companies. New companies have a grace period, all right? And companies have that do business. Well, let me say this. There's a flat tax for all companies, okay? New companies have a grace period, and then as they begin to make there's a threshold for the companies, too, as well.
You're not going to hurt like small or mid-size.
Because smaller businesses, depending on how many people they have, right, and then how much money that business is making, will determine how much they pay on the tax. Now,
and if that business doesn't have to also, it might not. They don't have health care costs either, right? So.
Well, yeah, that's another thing, but. In my ideal world, and it's not going to be my ideal world, so I have to sell. It's just a foundation. My idea is just a foundation, and then I would have to. I want to be able to consort with other people to make it to where we can work it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a solid foundation might take a little longer to create, but in the long run, it's something that's going to last a lot longer. Absolutely, I'm totally with you on that. If we don't have a solid foundation, then it's just a waste of time. We're actually fooling or deceiving ourselves by building off of something that's not a solid foundation.
Yeah. So the business, another part of this too as well is the companies, right? Now, big corporation, you know, your company is making $1 million a year, okay? There is no deduction for your company. There is no subsidies for your company, okay? Because if you're an oil company, guess what? Are you going to look for new places to drill for oil?
I probably would. I mean, if I was.
Yeah. Should we give you any subsidies for that?
No. Well, as a taxpayer, I think no. I mean,
no.
absolutely.
As a government?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? They're getting subsidized for it. Okay.
Oh, they totally are. Yeah. I mean, we go to war for them sometimes. You know. I mean, so, or actually, I'm not saying we go to war for them, but you know, at least they get to benefit from it greatly.
Yeah. But also, let me finish.
They get the contract.
With the percentage of business that a company does within the United States, that percentage of your business is taxed. So if you do 70% of your business in the United States, then that 70% is taxed, right? And so if you are making shoes in another country, then you're going to get hit with an import tax, plus you'll get hit with with your total sales tax that whatever you make in the United States, whatever percentage of your business that you're making in the United States, you will also get taxed for too as well. So you understand how you get hit with two taxes by doing business outside?
Yes, absolutely.
And so if you're importing goods into the United States, you'll get taxed. If you're outsourcing, your business too as well, there's a tax too as well. So whatever percentage of the job that you're putting away from the United States, then that percentage of your business will be taxed, plus the percentage of your business that you're creating in the United States. So these people that have these phone hotlines in other countries, then if you're 50% of your or 70% of your workforce is in another country, then 70% of your it's a I forgot how that number goes. 70% of your business your workforce business would be taxed, and then your whatever percentage that you do in the United States would be taxed too as well. So there'd have to be a 2%. There'd have to be a double tax on you.
Well, and I can understand, and I think like an import tax, like, just probably a nominal one for all countries might be a good idea. I mean, nothing that would be onerous, but one thing I would say is that if it's like raw materials coming in, that we might not tax those. Like if it's actual commodities, like stuff that we can't create here, like certain kinds of fruits and vegetables that we just don't grow here, or just like different raw materials that we might need, like those might get an exception because we can't make those here anyways. But things that are actually manufactured and stuff like that.
Thomas, I think I might write that one down.
Cool. So
do you understand what my tax?
I feel like I've gotten a good understanding here, and it's been a pretty thorough understanding. One quote I would say is not I believe in the separation of church and state, but I believe everyone has a right to, study what they want and pursue their
you have to
pursuit
have
of
separation
happiness.
of church and state. Yeah.
But the book of Daniel, like, what if there's this one story that I remember where he was friends with the king. I think it was Nebuchadnezzar, and
Yeah.
and Nebuchadnezzar had all these advisors around him, and they kept asking him to pass these different laws, and he didn't read the law that was passed.
Oh yeah.
And so since he didn't read that, what they passed was that at a certain time a day, everyone had to bow down to like this image of him or whatever, and Daniel wouldn't do it. And he didn't really want Daniel to go to prison, but the people were saying, well, if you don't enforce this law, then it's going to look bad on you. So he had to put him in prison. And the whole thing was he didn't read the bill. I mean, he signed something away that he didn't even want, and he was tricked by his own advisors.
You actually got it mixed up with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Daniel, the decree that they had the king sign was nobody could pray during this month for the whole month. Nobody could make a request or talk to a god, and they knew that Daniel prayed 3 times a day, and so they caught him praying, and the decree was that nobody could make a request to any god during that time. So then he had to put him in the lion's den. But the one that you're talking about was the one where they had to bow down to that golden image, was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Okay, yeah.
And they would not bow.
Yeah.
They said when all the music played, that everybody would have to bow, and those 3 guys didn't bow. So then they Nebuchadnezzar threw those 3 guys in the furnace, and they said that we'll never bow or nothing like that. Whether we die or we'll never bow. And so the king was so mad, he lit up he had them light the furnace up even 7 times hotter, and it was so hot, and the proclamation, or the king wanted it done so fast that the person that was lighting the furnace up got burnt. But they went through the fiery furnace, and they said that they saw a 4th person that was in there, and they said it was like the son of God or something. But their clothes were singed, and from there they said, oh, these guys, their God is God. I proclaim, that the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is the true God. Yeah, so.
Nice. Thanks for correcting that. And yeah, I certainly don't want to misquote anything. It's the one I was thinking about was the one with Daniel, though. To me, the less, and it's just thinking politically, someone who likes to watch C-SPAN stuff. I'm sure it's on different levels, but one of the things I got out of it was that, they were tricked into legislation by, almost by kind of like lobbyists throwing things in there that we don't even know what's in there, and who knows what we're giving up, so that's and another thing I've gotten out of this is, if whoever's listening, is your typical Republican or Democrat gonna talk about and be this accessible and this thoughtful on the issues? That's what I really got out of this, and that we do have extra choices. That there are people that are going out of their way to get involved, and you're a very sincere person, and you're right on the issues, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And also I want to ask you if there's anything that we left out tonight, but I think I got a pretty good feeling for your campaign here and how you would represent your constituents, and I think they would be pretty proud to have you as their senator, and I certainly wish you Godspeed, and hope that you make some news and get in the debates and you know, if you make the primaries and then you would have to get in the debates then, I suppose. But do you think there's any other? I mean, I'm sure you probably could champion some different kind of election reforms too. Is there any thoughts or any final thought on that? Do you think maybe, you know, there could be score voting or just better resources for people that make it on the ballots but that aren't a Republican or Democrats?
You know, I really, like I said before, I think we have bigger fish to fry. I think that,
Yeah.
you know,
We have the capability now if we decide to just, you know, get up and do something instead of just accept what's going on
Yeah.
here. I mean, so
yeah.
the main thing is we don't have to have laws against us being lazy, right? I mean, if we really feel like it, I mean, that's up to us. I mean, at a certain point, you know, you can't pass laws to make someone, you know, get out of their chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's only so much that you can do. The human nature is. Human nature. I mean, we sometimes, you know, we can be slow, you know, in some things, but in some things, other things that we can be really adamant about. So, once again, it's just, you know, do you want change? That's the bottom line.
I want change. I mean, I can imagine seeing you on C-SPAN. I mean, and that would be great. I mean, someone, you know, championing new ideas, someone, you know, with the spirit of the Declaration of Independence, with this American spirit, that is something that people really need and want to hear. And I mean, I feel you have a chance here. I mean, look who you're running against. But even besides that, if it's not this time, maybe next time. But I think this could be the year. I mean, there is something. There is something brewing, and what better year than this year? I mean, we've waited long enough, and so. Anyways, it's been a pleasure. I'll say goodbye to you after this interview. And so please visit BeasleyForHawaii.com. You could just Google, actually, I was just able to Google Heath Beasley, and it brought your website right up. So, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for what you do. And until next time, see you later. Have a good one. Thanks.
Thank you.